For years, he was Mexico's most hunted man, a cartel boss who survived raids, betrayals, and wars with rival gangs. A drug lord so powerful, he once ordered a military helicopter shot out of the sky. But in the end, it wasn't an army that exposed him, it was love. Mexican authorities say the final lead that located CJNG leader Nemesio Mencho Oseguera Cervantes came from surveillance tied to a romantic partner. A small, personal connection that cracked open the biggest manhunt in Mexico. For years, intelligence agencies on both sides of the US-Mexico border hunted Mencho without success. He moved constantly, used layered security rings, and relied on trusted couriers rather than digital communication. But this time, the breakthrough came from a human connection. Military investigators identified a trusted associate linked to one of Mencho's romantic partners. When that associate escorted the woman to a remote property in Tapalpa, Jalisco, surveillance teams quietly followed. Once she arrived, U.S. intelligence reportedly helped confirm that the cartel leader himself was inside. Authorities waited. Only after the woman departed the next morning did commanders move forward, confident their target was still there and vulnerable. Before dawn, Mexican Army units and National Guard forces sealed off the surrounding roads. Helicopters circled overhead. Recon aircraft monitored the terrain. Special forces teams moved toward the cabins hidden in the wooded hills. What followed was an intense firefight. Gunmen loyal to the cartel opened fire with heavy weapons, attempting to stall the advance while Mencho tried to escape with 2 bodyguards. He ran into dense brushland, hoping to disappear into the terrain that had protected him for years. But this time, the net had already closed. Special forces tracked him through the undergrowth and captured him wounded, ending one of the longest manhunts in Mexico's modern history. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is not just another criminal group. Founded around 2010, it grew rapidly into one of the most powerful trafficking networks in the world. CJNG dominates fentanyl, cocaine, heroin, and meth distribution routes to the United States. But its power extends beyond drugs. The cartel runs extortion rings, smuggling networks, and illegal resource theft operations across Mexico and beyond. What truly defined CJNG, though, was its brutality. Analysts say Mencho built a strategy based on overwhelming violence, using terror to conquer territory quickly and discourage resistance. The reaction was immediate and coordinated. Within hours of confirmation that Mencho had died, suspected CJNG cells unleashed waves of violence across multiple states. Convoys of gunmen set fire to petrol stations and convenience stores. Heavy trucks were dragged across highways and set ablaze, creating flaming barricades known locally as narco bloqueos. Entire cities slowed to a standstill as roads were cut off and emergency services struggled to respond. Security officials say these attacks were not random. They were designed to send a message to the government, to rival cartels, and to the public. Even without its leader, CJNG wanted to show it still had reach, organization, and the capacity to spread fear nationwide. In Jalisco alone, dozens of security personnel and suspected cartel fighters were killed in the unrest that followed. Analysts say this is a familiar pattern in Mexico's drug wars. When a powerful leader falls, violence often spikes, not because the cartel collapses, but because it fights to prove it still stands. And this time, the message was clear. El Mencho may be gone, but the machine he built is still running. Experts say removing a cartel leader rarely destroys the organization. Instead, it often fragments it. CJNG still controls resources, routes, and manpower across Mexico. And with El Mencho gone, rivals inside the cartel may fight for power, while outside groups test whether CJNG will weaken. This could trigger months or even years of shifting alliances, splinter factions, and unpredictable violence. History suggests that targeting kingpins without dismantling financial networks often reshapes cartels rather than ending them. For Mexico's government, El Mencho's death is a major victory, but it also raises a familiar dilemma. Does killing a cartel boss weaken organized crime or simply trigger the next wave of bloodshed? Because the business model remains intact. The roots, the money, and the demand are still there. And as analysts warn, removing the leader may change the face of the cartel, but not the flow of drugs.
Subscribe to One India and never miss an update. Download the One India app now.